world away for a minute, pretend I don't live in it. Sunshine gonna wash my blues away. Had sweet love, but I lost it. She got too close, so I fought it. Now I'm lost in the world, trying to find me a better way. Wishing I was deep in the water somewhere. Got the blue sky breeze and it don't seem fair. Only worry in the world is the tide gonna reach my chair. Sunrise, there's a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high. And I think I might have found me my own kind of paradise.
Wrote a note, said be back in a minute. Bought a boat and I sailed off in it. Don't think anybody's gonna miss me anyway. Mind on a permanent vacation. The ocean is my only medication. Wishing my condition ain't ever gonna go away.
Cause now I'm knee-deep in the water somewhere. Got the blue sky breeze blowing wind through my hair. Only worry in the world is the tide gonna reach my chair. Sunrise, there's a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high. And I think I might have found me my own kind of paradise. This champagne shore washing over me.
It's a sweet, sweet life, living by the salty sea.
One day you could be as lost as me.
Change your geography, maybe you might be.
Knee deep in the water somewhere. Got the blue sky breeze blowing wind through my hair. Only worry in the world is the tide gonna reach my chair. Sunrise, there's a fire in the sky. Never been so happy, never felt so high. And I think I might have found me my own kind of paradise. Come on in, the water's nice. Find yourself a little slice. Grab a backpack and lunch. You never know until you try. When you lose yourself,
you find the key to paradise.
Can y'all hear me now? Yeah. All right. Well, when all this happened, you know, me and Kim have been having a great time. Life had been good. We'd had a lot of success, things happen, and a lot of things that just fell together. And But I want to welcome y'all and thank everybody here for the prayers and for the love. I mean, it's just off the chart. I mean, you just wouldn't believe it. But I want to pray for y'all because I know that y'all are hurting, and just like I'm hurting. And Kim's influence on me on teaching school and sign language like she's doing right now. Some people have a little part gone, and some of us are going to have a big part gone. We'll be able to go on, and I know Kim, Kim loved everybody here. And so anyways, I'll get started, and I've got some funny stuff, and I've got some sad stuff, but I'm going to try to keep my prayer warriors from passing out. You know what I'm saying? They're lifting me up, and but anyways, that really, I went to Ringo High School, and when my junior year, they came up with a vocational school for Lakeview. You go to Lakeview, you travel. Some of us looked at that maybe an opportunity to cut school for about 30 minutes, maybe. You had to drive the bus, and you had to come back, there was an hour lost. But anyways, I went over there for forestry and met this guy named Ronnie Whitaker, and he was a teacher there. And he had a different way of looking at things, and immediately I kind of liked the way he looked at things, and he kind of took with me, and needless to say, he recruited me to go to ABAC, and that's how I ended up in Tifton. And when I got to Tifton, I was the only person from Ringo, and there wasn't anybody else there from Ringo. There wasn't anybody else from North Georgia at the time, and so you didn't go home on the weekend, so you was going to try to figure out what you were going to do. So I saw her pretty quick, a day or two, really, to be honest with you. And I kind of saw her, well, wasn't in the forestry program, of course, because I was in the remedial. So she was already in her core classes, and I was in the remedial, so I wasn't anywhere close to any ag buildings. I was over here at the humanities buildings. So anyways, got a few ABAC alumni here, I think. But anyways, do you do remedial? Both of y'all can answer yes if you need to. Yeah, nobody's going to tell on y'all. But anyways, that's when I saw her. And guy pointed out, he said, those local girls running little packs, And I said, you're pretty smart. He goes, well, they're kind of protecting themselves, I guess, And he's one of my swamp friends from Homerville. And so he said, well, yeah, you just got to think like that. I said, okay. So I asked her out, and she said no. She was flat no. Okay. So he said, well, you might have went about it wrong. I said, you don't know that much about it. I don't see you with anybody. And he said, well, I have invited that little pack of girls for ice creams. You want to meet us? I said, yeah. The one you're talking about is going to be with you? Yeah. Okay. So it was Kim and Wanda, one of her other friends, and Catherine. And we sat there and talked, and Alan wasn't really looking at any of the girls, I don't think, so much, But either way, I asked Kim out then, away from the girls, and she says, no, I've got friends coming from out of town. And Tifton is like the center of a lot of little towns around it. Well, this girl lived about 5 miles out of town. She wasn't lying, but you know how that goes. So anyways, we started dating. And I asked her out, 3 times? Still told me no. 4th time, said yes. She shows up with her roommate. It'd be easier to take your car, she said, or my car. And she just shows up. So we go in her car with her friend. And we go to the movie there in Tifton, and Nancy sat here, Kim here, and then me. I don't know, halfway through whatever it was, Star Wars 75, whatever it was, I reached over and touched her hand, and when I did, felt really nice. Nancy slapped my hand from over there. The fourth date, laundromat. Nancy showed up too. So by the time I got the fifth date with her in the convertible, just me and her, it was under a famous magnolia tree there in Tifton, supposedly the largest in the world or something. And it's got some initials up in it. That was later. But that night I told Kim I loved her. I mean, I said, well, this girl will be gone for sure. I mean, here I am, just been able to spend maybe 3 hours alone with her. And but that's what happened. So that's part of the problem, y'all, that I'm having here. From there, like I said, we went in, we got married, and Kim started teaching school. And she just that was it, and she taught in 7 systems in the state of Georgia, and she had 6 different degrees in teaching. She went back to get her speech pathology in Valdosta, and she worked in Tifton at Ashburn actually when she started, then in Tifton, and so she was traveled back and forth. And so at the very end, we'd had a couple opportunities that some surgeries and stuff, but no luck having a baby. So we were kind of like, well, we may not, maybe it's just not in the cards. So she took a job in Valdosta, and we bought a 2-seater car, and she got pregnant. So we had Savannah, of course, and it was just wonderful. I mean, that's all I can say. Savannah was a little girl, and like I said, she was always around our businesses or going to school with her mom and doing stuff with her mom. The guy came in a service station one day, and he didn't really need any help. He wanted he got a couple dollars worth of gas and wanted to buy him a pack of cigarettes. So this guy, I never thought he'd come back and pay for the cigarettes, but I paid it out of my pocket. Anyways, this guy comes back a couple days later, to my amazement, got more gas, paid for the cigarettes, went back to the cooler and got a drink, and came up there and says, could I get another pack of cigarettes and a drink on credit? So, yeah, I just laughed in his face. We laughed. That's all we did. And he became probably one of my best friends. The 30 years that we had spent as friends was just amazing. But I asked him what his deal was, and he let me know he'd fell through some hard times and had 3 small children and was trying to raise them by himself. And I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, and I just got out of prison. I'm like, what? So, where do you live? He told me. Knew right where he lived. He lived close to our farm over there on Pine Grove Road. So he had an old car in the yard, and I said something about the car. And he said, yeah, I'd fixed it for a guy, and then he's passed away, and I've got the paperwork. I can sell the car now. So Lisa, my niece, was looking for a car, and I told Susan about it. This is where those God stories started. We helped Dexter that year. It's the best year ever. Thanksgiving, Christmas. Susan went over there, and she came back. She said, that $400 car, I gave him $700 for it. So, you see what I'm talking about. I think Lisa wrecked it and got $3,500 for it, right? Wasn't it? The insurance, it was somebody else's fault, but yeah, the car, bang, here she's got $3,500 for a $400 junk car. So, the God thing's just in his life with me, it's just crazy. Just crazy. He never complained, never in his life. So When he passed, he had asked me to clean his car and stuff for him, and I did. And I found a pack of cigarettes under the seat and his funny hat. So I did a eulogy for him, and I've never ever thought anybody could ever get up and talk about their loved one. But I did at Dexter's, and I saw this whole wad of his family that he had nobody, and in 30 years he had all these people, and I don't know, it was one of those things where I knew he had lived on the other side. He was a street heroin addict, and his daughter's here, and she don't mind me telling his story. And he changed to where nothing mattered. He was in God's hand like this. The world around him, nothing bothered him, y'all. I mean, I've seen it. Stuff that would just get all over me, psst, no problem. So I knew Dexter was there in our lives for a reason. And all this buried him a couple months ago. So anyways, on these special ed trips with Kim, in Valdosta one time we had 400 special needs children at a camp. Spend the night camp. Bobby, you got to go. You got to look after a whole cabin full of these little boys. I said, what? Yeah, oh yeah. So the Downs kids, and those kids are so lovable. But when you're having marshmallows in Nance in Valdosta, Georgia, I love them kids and they just love you. But I had marshmallows stuck all over me. So my job was to get all these boys to take a shower and stuff and get in the bed. And so it happened. I had one that had no language whatsoever, never had, probably never will. About 4 a.m, after I'd had problems up to that point, he decides to wake up and he's talking in his mother's voice. Yeah. She was telling him to quit doing what he was doing. And he was making a little noise like, quit it now, his mother would say. And then he'd lay back down. The whole night I had my keys like this, feeling about, the car's right out there. They'll see me leave, and they'll know somebody needs to look after these kids. Now, I was to that point a couple times, but made it through the night. The next morning, here comes a big, everybody's coming up for the breakfast, and big sea of teachers and kids and everything, and I'm standing on the porch, and Kim's friends and everything, they were all just couldn't wait to rib me, So they're looking at me and say, well, how was your night? I said, y'all look real good because this is the last time y'all going to see me at overnight camp. Yeah, get you a good look. But, we did that. Some of the trips, bowling alley here in Chattanooga. This little boy, Kim, says, you got to take him to the bathroom. He's got to go bad. I'm like, I have to take him. Well, no, you got to take him. Well, how do I know if it's the one or the two? Oh, well, he needs to go to the two. So I go in one stall. He's in the other stall. I made sure he's in there. He's shut. Everything's okay. Here we're at the bowling alley. Made sure nobody was around. I'm doing the number one. Underneath the stall, here's his little face going. So, to say the least, I had a good time with Kim on the field trips. I wasn't the first one to sign up, but I had to go on a lot of them to keep the peace. But no, like I said, we went on the Itchituttony trips. We did the Jacks River trip, and that. Let me change my notes here. Is there a picture up here right now of Jacks River? Okay. Has it been up there? Oh, sorry. Well, that trip there, she and I were still in Baptist Student Union, and we were. Oh, wait a minute, Dennis, you left some notes up here. I'm sorry. No, just kidding. No. Nobody got the joke. But anyways, needless to say, we had a good time over the years. Some hats may have changed their heads. Things happened. But as we went through life doing goofy things together, we did learn a few things along the way. Some things about Kim, you know, she never complained. She was a critic for a good job, you know. Oh, I'm kidding. Did I say Kim never complained? Kim complained about everything, and everybody that knows her knows that. She was a critic. She could have been a food critic, and her mom can pick something apart and they can tell you everything's in it, you know. But you know that was just Kim. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she believed everyone should do their best. If you worked as a server, if you worked in the kitchen, if you brought out something that wasn't right, she would tell you real quick. Not necessarily she would get on to people and stuff, but back in the old days she would never say anything, you know. So as things changed and she matured, she did change to that in somewhat. But you know, about 15 years ago, we went to Oakwood Baptist Church in Chickamauga, and Gary and Teresa Vaughn invited us to go over there. And Gary was in the railroad, so he said, "I'm not going to be here every weekend, you know, so don't think that we're just trying to get you over here and going to leave you." I said, No. I said, "That's an awful big church." I said, "That's a big old church, you know." And he said, "Yeah, but when you get here and meet some of these people, you know." And we were looking for a church. And so we went, and I couldn't believe it. And it was exactly like Gary had said. I mean, the people would just love on you and worry about you and be, and you know, it was just wonderful. And so we helped them with an extension church, and they talked about doing this extension church. And so we said, yeah, that'd be great, you know. So we went over there. That's when we were transitioning from South Georgia back up here. There was a guy teaching a class there that is a singer. And we always enjoyed him singing. It's Robert Streets. And Robert was going to sing today, but just came down sick. So anyways, we meet Robert, and in his Sunday school class, there's probably 30 people in there, y'all, and I knew some of them from Celebrate Recovery. I'd heard some stories on some of them, but I hadn't seen the transparency. Robert gets up there, a man that's played in every place to play except Madison Square Garden, tells us how reclused that he is and how that he has a hard time talking to people. And we're like, what? Well, he opened up to us, and a couple other people did. Just one day, all of a sudden, Kim just starts talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh. She told her whole life, basically. It was incredible. And Robert and Kim and about 20 others in there, it was just the best sharing experience and to love on each other that I've ever been around, no doubt. So Robert, when I would come to the outreach the first time I came, I brought Jax with me. And Robert told me this the other day. Robert is my age. I'm 63 years old, and Jackson's 13. So I'm 50 years on him. So Robert the other day said, and he's got a baby. And so I'm kidding him about changing diapers and stuff, you know. And I said, never been married, all this stuff, you know, all this stuff. His story is just crazy. And so Robert says, you inspired me coming to church on Sundays with that little boy, and that's why I wanted a child. I'm like, nah, you just, he said, no, Bobby. So what I'm saying is, this whole thing, her hairdresser, Andrew Burns, my niece Lisa, is across the street. Andrew, this guy works up here at this other shop in Chattanooga. He's over there cutting hair at the beauty school for $5 a pop. Lisa went over there. Of course, Kim says, $5. Let's go meet this guy, you know. He worked at a fancy shop, but he was getting his barber stuff. Okay. Well, guess what? Guess who does Robert's hair now? Andrew Burns. So when all this happened, and they're like, Kim, my friend, what? That's your friend? So what I'm saying, as this journey right here started progressing, God started showing me things. One day was one of the hardest days. Her family came up. And to not know what my wife was going to be doing. Was she going to be okay? Is she not going to be okay? What? And they left that day. And I got because of COVID, 4 to 8 every day. That's how long I had to wait to see her. You stand in line with these other people, just going through the same thing. And the line would reach across that bridge out in the parking garage, y'all, and it cold or whatever, people standing there 6 feet apart, just like little soldiers. Everybody had a little cross to bear, you know. Everybody had somebody. And so that day had been exceptionally rough on me. And I started down there. I was already thinking about the line. And God let me know in the shower, I'm in control. Because Kim had told me a week before the accident, when you get up, hang your feet off the bed, get your faculties together because you don't want to fall. And God let me hear that. I started laughing. I went from bawling to laughing. I started to Chattanooga. It was Sunday after Thanksgiving, so you know what the traffic was. I just went ahead and went 41. You had all these people trying to go through 41. Red lights, I might be laughing, I might be bawling. It was just that God had me doing this right here. He was letting me know. So I get up there to the tunnel. I think there was 2 or 3 Yankees trying to go in there. You know what I mean? They was trying to figure out how to get, you know, not to know when they came out of the tunnel it was going to be a roundabout, so they probably came on back. But anyway, I'm about halfway through, and I get to thinking, dummy, what do you normally do in a tunnel? You blow the horn. So I started blowing the horn. Beep, 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 beep. Everybody else. Beep, 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 beep. So I'm getting towards the end, then somebody does the old standard doot, 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 and I got to do the doot, doot right as I came out the tunnel. And I laughed all the way under 24, all the way to 23rd Street. Couldn't tell anybody because I know every dead spot between here and Erlanger Hospital now. Tunnel to 23rd Street, almost to the Bojangles. But anyways, I knew God then was letting me know something right then, that something bad was happening, and you know, and it did. It got worse the next week. She had to have the second surgery. That's when they gave me some awful news. Savannah, after a couple of days, she had to go see her mama, and I suggested not to, but she did. And it was rough because, see, I couldn't go with her. COVID, one person, 4 to 8, forget it. So I had to let Savannah out. I had to worry about her. I had to tell her how to get there. And the whole time she was like, Daddy, I don't remember nothing you just said. I said, well, you'll find her. You'll find her. God will lead you. And she did. And so I asked Savannah when she came out, you glad you went? And she said, yes, I am, Daddy. I said, okay, that's all that matters. And a few days later, Corey wanted to see her. We told him the same thing. He did the same thing. He was glad that he went to see his sister. we'd told her mother I just would wait. Just wait. Just remember the way she was. But Kim wanted things done her particular way. And last Saturday night, and they don't know some of this story, but they suggested that I probably shouldn't give my time up with my wife. And I said, well, I'm going to. And they said, well, why don't you come in with your mother-in-law? I said, I think my brother-in-law needs to be with her. Okay. When you go in the unit, you can't come out. When you come out, you can't come back in. Yes. So if your wife dies, we're not going to let you back in to see your wife. You're not going to cause problems for yours. I said, no. I said, that's what I want to happen. So there was a lot of prayer, and I let some people know this. They didn't know that was going to control. Back off. Let things happen. So I did. They got to see her. She was glad she got to see her. So I called some of my friends and I said, just pray really hard, guys. Pray really hard, because my mother-in-law and brother-in-law just went in there. And I was just around the corner at Ingle Stadium. I was calling them to pray, and Corey was letting me know that his mother was having a hard time. Savannah calls me, texts me, are you okay? Corey couldn't get you. I said, I'm fine. So I pulled back to the other side of Erlanger, and the hospice unit is where Kim was, behind there. There's one emergency room parking spot for handicap, and I was sitting right there, and they were only from here to maybe that back window from me, and I let Corey know I'm outside, So God allowed a lot of things to happen, y'all, and I mean, it just, the way she fought, those trauma people stood over her and said, we've never seen anybody do this. When the surgeon got in there after the second time, he said, I've never seen anybody alive with their brain in this shape. And that's when he gave me a lot of bad things, just on and on and on, So I went home, and Kim had some Christmas presents that she had already bought, and I looked, and lo and behold, here's Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love God. So, I love God. And it's got to work for the good right now. I didn't know the influence that Kim had on me. Just being around her and working with kids and stuff. We get to South Georgia, and I meet this lady at the drugstore, older woman. She said, well, you want to ride with me to this town about 70 miles away? I'll buy your lunch and pay you to go listen to this meeting. She said, I think you'd be good at it. That lady didn't know me from nothing. I rode over there, ate at the seafood place there in Baxley, Georgia. She gave me $75 to ride over there with her and bought my lunch. What it was a mental health meeting for the state of Georgia. And her time as a board member was coming up. You get 3 years shot. So she was looking for somebody and had all of Clinch County to find somebody. Well, guess what? It came out in the paper. One of my nosy neighbors said, hey, Kim, how did Bobby get that board job? He thought it paid money. It didn't, but you did get gas money, and they bought your lunch. But anyways, I went, and I was so confused for the first few meetings, but then I realized what it was all about. It was actually about mentally handicapped people that had been kept in Milledgeville for all these years. And the government and the state of Georgia had a lawsuit against each other, and we were the board members that helped mediate the lawsuits. In other words, You let them out, you find them a group home, we're not going to sue you. So it was kind of weird. But we got these people out of Milledgeville, and they came to live in these group homes. Why am I here? I got a forestry degree. I can decorate houses also. Well, one of the actual kids are 35-year-old guys, big black boy, slapped somebody when he was little. So they doped him up and left him in Milledgeville. Well, he was at a horse camp out from Perry, Georgia, is where he was living. That was going to be his host family. The guy had kids that come out there and ride and stuff, you know. This boy worked out great there. They said he was wonderful. About a month in, the owner had a heart attack. This boy knew CPR, and he saved his life, a man's life. So here I am at one of these meetings, like a board meeting. Guess who got to speak? Was that black boy that had been kept in that dadgum mental hospital about saving that man. And he was as sane as anybody. So there again, God thing again, let me do this because my wife cared about these kids. Okay, so talking about in line, this is going to be one of the roughest ones. Lift me up, prayer warriors. Y'all getting weak. But I was in line with this lady. You know, with a mask, all you can see is this, you know, and everybody, but you can still see your eyes are hurting. And she said, who do you have here? And I told her. And I said, well, who do you have here? And she told me. And she said, my husband's got his legs mashed in an industrial accident. And it looks like he's going to lose his right leg. And his son, my son, has never been without seeing his dad. He's 25 years old and he's autistic. Oh boy. I said, really? She said, yeah. Bing, bing, board member. Bing, bing, where do you live? I live in Calhoun, Georgia. I said, well, you're being violated by the laws of Georgia right now. In Tennessee, I had to comply. I said, but let me give you a guy's name and number. I wrote down Roger Forgy. He went from a CNA to a life flight to vice president of Erlanger Hospital. If he doesn't work here anymore, he may be retired. You just tell him that his friend Bobby Nance is a board member in the state of Georgia and says they need to let Sean in. Well, 2 days later, I'm in line. It's 2 lines, but there's this third line started right in the middle. There's this guy standing there. And I get a little closer to him. I could see he was doing like this. He was autistic. And I said, uh-oh. I said, Sean, what you doing? How do you know my name? I had my Mopar one on. He says, who are you, Mopar? I said, no, I'm Bobby. I like Mopars. I like Chevrolets. I said, well, good. And I look, and the lady that I could see is his mother, and she's crying. He said, I'm going to get to see my dad today. And I said, well, you know what? I prayed about you the other night. He goes, you don't know me? I said, yeah, I do too. I said, that lady right there. And he turned, he said, my mama. And he looked at his mama. And y'all, as we kept getting closer and closer, Sean had got a little bit away from me. You know, as they're giving you your license and your tag and telling you where to go. And I saw him get nervous again doing like that. And Kim had told me to just get their mind off of that real quick. And I said, Sean, you got your badge yet? Yeah, Bobby, look. Right here. Boy, he was proud of that badge. And I said, well, you go see your dad, you know. And I saw them walk down the hall. And I'm like, oh, wow, you know. The influence Kim had on me, God had held her here, y'all, to where a lot of this stuff could come out. I mean, that's all there was. I mean, that's all it is. Things that Kim liked was me. Me? I know, I'm just fine. Savannah and Jackson, of course, our families. She loved this church. Her students, she's just crazy about her kids. And the faculty, she loved them. And she even loved administrators. I mean, she really did. But she was about teaching. She was about what was right. She was never the politician. She was never who cared. She was out for those children, period. If you didn't like Kim, it was probably because you were doing something that was against the rules. And she would call you out on it. She went to that school system in South Georgia. Oh, my word. The lady had a degree in journalism, a master's degree in journalism in New York. And her friend from Waycross, Georgia said, why don't you come down here? I can get you a job teaching in one of these school systems. So she was a special ed director and didn't know nothing about special ed, period. So Kim goes down there, and you imagine Miss Kim was kind of upset when she saw the paperwork that these kids weren't getting. You IEP specialists, some of you teachers know. Paperwork hadn't been done on these children in 4 years. You know, super lawsuit. So Kim ran through this frustration in about a 5-year period of time down there, until the fact, I get a phone call one day, and Kim says, come out here, block the butts. Block her, I'm not going to say exactly, but block the, yeah, okay, Lord. So anyways, I had already was taking a car back. I detailed cars down there. And I was taking a car back to the bank that was real close to the school. But I had a question before I got to the school. Which bee was I blocking in? But I had a feeling it was the special ed director. And there again, y'all, it was it was a customer, okay? She wasn't a customer after that day. But anyways, I blocked her in, and what she was doing, she wasn't going to explain some things that she had called Kim out on. Kim said, you're not going to leave till we have this discussion. When I got there, the lady said, I'm leaving. I said, I don't think so. I think you're going to have to get the principals down here. We're all going to be in the principal's office, you know. Kim stood there till they listened to her, and she made her point, you know, and that was, like I said, at the end of her career. She wasn't going to back down. She wasn't scared. She wasn't nervous, none of that. But like I said, she loved to cook for others. If she could take something to somebody, she knew, well, you know, she learned it from her granny and her mom. They can flat cook. You can tell I don't eat, so, you know, we're all healthy. But I'm just saying, she loved to cook for others, and she loved grits. And anybody that knew Kim knew she loved her some grits. And nobody could cook them up here. She'd say, oh, they just put in new grits. You don't stir them in. Bailey's, she'd say Bailey's is good as long as they don't add to it. Or, you know, she would just da-da-da-da. Tabs, she loved tabs. She knew where every store in the southeast that sold them. And I did too, but because I was continuing looking for them. And one time when we had the station, I told my Coke man, I said, let's do something nobody else has ever done. I said, let's put a tab display in this store, and I want you to take a picture of it. And he did. 10 people in Catoosa County drank them, but they all came there to get them, you know. But, you know, Kim was one of them, the sheriff, Connie Ballou. I can tell you their names, I mean, really. But anyways, she loved sunrises. And this morning, I don't know if any of y'all saw it, but it was the pastel blue that she loved with the pink. And guess what? Her granny Keeter used to always say, look at those weather planes, Kim. Y'all, the weather planes had made a perfect cross. And I'm looking out back at it, and I'm not kidding you. It was like it was glowing this morning. And I knew, I said, well, you're right, God, today's here. And she loved her sunsets. She loved the beach trips. she loved to go to the beach with Savannah when they were little. She loved those beach trips to Fernandina Beach. Her friends, going gambling with Debbie, going to the beach with Lisa and Georgia and Diane and her girls, Alan and Denise, Nick and Ann Harley, and then all of my buddies, all of my, these guys have called and checked on me every day. They've offered to do anything. All of y'all have. I was home one day, and I'm about done, y'all. But there's a calendar that I told Kim, you put stuff in your phone. I don't know what's going on around here. She had went and bought this. You can see she had written a few things in October. There was her birthday. And then here's where I had to start writing stuff. And I just got this home one night, and I started writing it. And as I come along here, after a few days, and I started looking back, and I said, well, boy, she wasn't good there. So I started writing minuses and pluses. That's a plus day. There's a minus day. Oh, there's a good plus day. And then another bad day, and then a really bad day. So I got down here, and that night I was there. And I looked back, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. And more of them were minuses than pluses. So I said, I don't know. I said, what am I going to do? So I'd ran out of places there. So when I turned this, y'all, look at what it says. Peace. And y'all can see that I had to write about 16 more days in there. So, during this accident, I was traveling back and forth a lot, and there's this song came on, and I never heard it before in my life. It was kind of creepy to start with. It kind of creeped me out a little bit. Really couldn't even figure out what the guy was saying. I couldn't say if he was saying not man enough or not mad enough. Well, Kim had always told me when she got upset and she was making a point and she was right, if you said it more than twice, and she would unload on you. And she's told me before, don't tell me to calm down. I'll divorce you. You say it again, I'll divorce you. So I didn't say it again, Go through all that lawyer stuff and all that, yeah. Oh, who gets Savannah? Who gets the cats, But Susan called me, and that song was playing. She was like, oh, you okay? Because I was crying. She couldn't understand what I was saying. And I guess I probably sounded hateful to her. I said, I can't hear the song. I just want to say, And she says, well, what's the name of it? I'll go out here in my car, So she did, near her car. Sure enough, it came up. Smith and Myers, Not Mad Enough. I said, okay, who are these people, they used to be in a band. Somebody got on drugs. They regrouped. But the words. So the accident that morning. She thought she fell out of the bed. Get her up. She's bleeding. She said, here, let me get up. You know how it is when you get down on the ground when you get older. Hey, I know what works, what doesn't work. So I helped her up. She stood up. We stopped the bleeding. I got the ice pack. She was, what happened? I got the ice pack. And I said, you think I should call an ambulance? Or do you think I should just take you? And she says, no, I think we'll just drive. I don't want another one of those ambulance rides. And we'd, so I said, well, and I said this, I said, I don't want your mama to worry. I said, I need to be safe and sorry. These words are in this song, y'all. So we get outside after got her clothes on. The bleeding had stopped. It looked like she needed about 3 or 4 stitches. The bleeding had stopped. Cleaned her up. We got in the car. As we went out, she goes, why are we going somewhere so late like this? And I knew she had a concussion or, felt like she did. She said, it's so dark. Why are we going out late? And I said, we got to go to the hospital, remember? Oh, yeah. So we went. They scanned her. They said she's got a bleed, but we need to send her downtown. No big deal. Send her downtown in the ambulance course, and I get down, and we spend the time in the emergency room. No problem. They sew her head up. She's deciding what kind of stitches. And later that afternoon, I called them, told we were coming home because they had actually told her she could go home. And they walked around with her. And like I said, within an hour's time, Kim died in front of me there. And they brought her back, but said that she's got such a brain bleed. We got to go right now. We got to intubate her and go now. When I went in the unit, a man was coming out, and he stopped, and he says, oh, your wife doesn't look good. I said, no, she doesn't. He said, he went out the doors, and he turned around and looked at me again. He says, I hope she gets to feeling better. I said, I think she's just hot. Well, 10 minutes later, that same person was a neurosurgeon. And he says, I can't believe that me and you are having to talk about this. So they let me go back and see her after they had intubated her. And I just don't see how these nurses even sleep at night. I mean, I don't know. Bless their hearts. I mean, y'all pray for these folks. I just don't see how they do it. My niece is in here now. She did it. She couldn't do it much longer. Those girls and those guys in that unit, just I can't say enough about them. But the hospice people, they were so nice. Everything from that point knew where Kim was headed. And, God had showed me stuff all along. This church has been so good to us. And the love. And, we sat right back there. And right where the Davises are at now and a little bit back further. They're sitting in their old spot. But just the reconnection in our lives and loving all of y'all and knowing that y'all need prayer as well. Like I said earlier, I'd say, Kim, the biggest thing I can say, and Rob reminded Kim of this a lot. You go, Aunt Kim. He had seen her in action. And that meant a lot to her. It really did. You just don't know what that meant to her. Because you saw it and you knew. So she's about setting the record right. And really, she said, don't judge people. Let God do that. And everything you do, everything that you say, and she said this, she says, do it with love. And I love you, my Kim. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to see her. And I'm going to make every point to do that. And I want to thank all of y'all for being here because of the COVID stuff and just what all of us having to go through, to be safe. You go back, had people call, I can't come because it may jeopardize other things, see. So, and Kim knows this and understands all of it fully. And Tuesday morning, they had changed her medicine because Kim had got used to morphine at about 30 milligrams of pop every hour and a half. They said they'd kill a basketball team, that much would. So they had to say, we got to change it because her brain won't tell her lungs to stop. It's just the mechanical part. So Tuesday afternoon, they came in that morning and they gave her the change the medicine. And they said, you should see a change in 15 minutes. And I said, what, is she fixing to die? No. She's just going to calm down. You know, I didn't know what was fixing to happen. And she calmed down. She quit fighting. She just relaxed and breathed somewhat normal. And her family had seen her just a day or two before, and they had seen what she was going through. And Savannah had seen what she was going through. And Robin had seen her at the unit and kind of knew what she was going through. So I decided then, after watching this, and it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and how every 3 hours it was wearing off, and they was having to give her this new drug every 3 hours. So I was at a loss, and I was kind of walking around there, and I'd remembered everything everybody had told me so far. And when she was still alive, after her mom had been up there, after everybody had been there, I said, God, and I was laying over on Kim, and I said, God, I know you got her. And I looked at Kim, and I said, I know you're sitting up there with him. And you're just sitting here waiting for me to say, I'm tired of it. I can't do it much more. These doctors and nurses are saying you're going to end up in this bed. I was going to take Kim home. She was not going to a nursing home. And they said, unless you have unlimited supply, you cannot keep a skilled nurse around the clock like that. So they had already talked me down a couple of times. Hospice said, if you want to take her home, we'll make sure you can take her home. So if she would have ever got to where she could have, we would have brought her home, you know. But, you know, I knew then that she needed to be with God, and so that's when I asked that. And I said, I feel selfish in a way, because I knew she wasn't suffering. God had let me know she wasn't suffering. He'd let me know that. But just not knowing and seeing her little eyes open, and you know, you just thinking she was looking at me, and she wasn't. So I'm going to be okay, and I want all y'all to be okay. I want everybody in this room to be okay. Y'all got to know Kim, and some people just for a few years. I was very blessed. I was with her 45, and through this, y'all, there was a lot of hearts mended, and I think that's what Kim was about. She didn't want people to be upset with her. And so this song is I've talked to my brother, and I've talked to my brother-in-law about it, and everything's good. So the song is one of those freaky things that happened. And like I said, we'll try to honor her with that. And like I said, I appreciate y'all being here, and I hate you had to wait so long to hear my speech, but I love everybody here, and thank you.
Hey, Mr. Hopeful, you said we're better safe than sorry. Hey, Mr. Hopeful, I wouldn't want your mama to worry. It's getting dark, but I'm going out. If there's a fire, gotta put it out. And in an hour, if you hear me shout, come a-running. Hey, Mrs. Heartache, your sister said he didn't mean it. Hey, Mrs. Heartache, his brother said he lost the feeling. A couple months under house arrest, some holy water and a priest of bliss. I can't forgive what I can't forget, and I can't forget. Stop telling me I gotta calm down. You're not mad enough. You're not mad enough. How many heads are gonna have to hit the ground? before you wake up, before you wake up, you're not mad enough. Hey, anybody know the bitter side of death and glory? Hey, everybody knows a picture tells a worn-out story. Face down, I can taste the blood. It's hard to breathe, someone let me up. I can't hear you, have you had enough? 'Cause I've had enough. Stop telling me I gotta calm down. You're not mad enough, you're not mad enough. How many heads are gonna have to hit the ground before you wake up, before you wake up? You're not mad enough, you're not mad enough. Stop telling me I gotta calm down. You're not mad enough, you're not mad enough. How many heads are gonna have to hit the ground before you wake up, before you wake up? Stop telling me I gotta calm down. You're not mad enough, you're not mad enough. How many heads are gonna have to hit the ground before you wake up, before you wake up? You're not mad enough, you're not mad enough.
Thank you, Bobby, for sharing about Kim. That was great. You know, there is certainly sadness here today, but you know the Bible tells us it's actually good for us to be here today. Death is always a difficult time, and your presence has gone a long way toward helping this family in their grief. Over in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, God says this: "It's better to go to a house of mourning than go to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of every person. The living should take this to heart." So why is it good for us to be here today? Because this is a time for us to remember the life that God gave Kim. And Bobby's done such a great job of telling us about that. It's a time to share our memories and to encourage and to lean on each other. It's also a time for us to say goodbye. It's important for us to say goodbye because Kim meant so much to so many. And lastly, it's good for us to be here today because it's a time for us to ponder our own mortality. Because one day all of us will die. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. Thus, it's a good time for us to ask some basic questions. Am I making my life count? Am I ready to die? Do I know where I'm going when I die? Really, when you get right down to it, this service is more for those of us who are living than it is for the person, Kim, who has died. Did you know that Jesus went to funerals? I want to share with you an example of one particular funeral that Jesus went to in the book of John, chapter 11. Beginning with verse 17, it reads, "On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. 'Lord,' Martha said to Jesus, 'if you would have been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask.' Jesus said to her, 'Your brother will rise again.' Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. You know, it's said that Jesus never performed a funeral because whenever Jesus showed up, that person rose from the grave, and therefore there was no need for the funeral. But this funeral was a little bit different. This is the funeral of one of his best friends, Lazarus. Lazarus had two sisters, Mary and Martha. And when Jesus arrived 4 days after Lazarus' death, each of these sisters ran out at different times to talk to him, but they said exactly the same thing. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. After all, everyone knew that Jesus could heal the sick. If he had been there, Lazarus wouldn't have died. You know, at funerals sometimes there's a tendency to sometimes blame God for death. Lord, if you would have been here, Lord, you could have done something so that my loved one didn't die. And I've learned a long time ago, it's not sinful to question God. It's okay to ask, why would God let my loved one die? Notice that Jesus didn't scold the sisters for their questions or for their words. God's a big God, and he can handle our emotions. You shouldn't feel guilty for wondering if there was something that God could have done, but the matter of the fact is he didn't. The day will come when we'll all die, and we'll all die because we live in a world that's been damaged by sin. I also find it interesting in this story how Jesus responded to his death. We're told that Jesus was deeply moved. You know, Jesus could have said something extremely profound, but he didn't. There's no sermon. There's no powerful observation. Instead, the Bible only tells us what Jesus did. Verse 35 says he wept. The shortest verse in all of Scripture, but perhaps the most powerful, the most profound. Here is Jesus of Nazareth, the most complete, most perfect man in God form, attending the funeral of a friend and weeping openly. He weeps without embarrassment. He weeps without apology. And those nearby said, oh, how much he loved him. And if you feel like crying, it's certainly okay. It was okay for Jesus to cry. It's okay for us to cry. And I'm convinced that God weeps with you. If you let him, he'll work inside you to comfort you. You know, God knows what it's like to feel hurt. God lost a family member too. It was his one and only son. John 3:16 and 17 tells us, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. As we celebrate Kim's life and say goodbye to her, it's also good to remember God. Life is fragile. Do you remember what Jesus said to Mary and Martha? He said, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even though he dies. And then he asked a question. Do you believe this? Kim did believe that. And because she believed that, we know where she's at today. And we know that one day we're going to see her again in heaven. And God describes the place where Kim is today in Scripture like this. He said, God himself will be with us and be our God. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. For the old order of things has passed away. He who was seated on the throne said, I am making all things new. There's only one requirement for entrance into heaven, and it has nothing to do with things that we can do or how nice we are or any of those things. Scripture tells us it's simply a belief in God. And we know that Kim believed in God. Brad Paisley and Dolly Parton collaborated on a song, and I just want to share some verses of that song. It's called When I Get Where I'm Going. When I get where I'm going on the far side of the sky, the first thing I'm going to do is spread my wings and fly. I'm going to land beside a lion and run my fingers through his mane, or I might find out what it's like to ride a drop of rain. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. I will shed the sins and struggles that I've carried all these years. I will leave my heart wide open, and I will love and have no fear. Oh, when I get where I'm going, don't cry for me down here. Gonna walk with my granddaddy, and he'll match me step for step. And I'll tell him how I've missed him every moment since he'd left. Oh, and then I'll hug his neck. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears, and I will shed the sins and struggles that I've carried all these years. And I'll leave my heart wide open, and I will love and have no fear. Yeah, when I get where I'm going, don't cry for me down here. So much pain, so much darkness, this world we stumble through. All these questions I can't answer, so much work to do. But when I get where I'm going and I see my Maker's face, I'll stand forever in light of his amazing grace. For all of you relatives and friends, treasure the memories of Kim that are so special. For the immediate family, remember the things that bring a smile to your face and joy to your heart. And keep her memory alive by imitating those wonderful qualities in your life.